the Lee Brinnell Hardness Tester Kit, right now on Pirate Firearms and Reloading. Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. So today is going to be back at the reloading bench. I haven't done a video from here for a little while now, so I just got done casting some bullets and I figured I'd talk about Brinnell Hardness and how to test for it. So for those who have never casted bullets or maybe just put some lead in a melting pot and hoped for the best, this is probably a really good video. There is certain bullets and certain requirements in terms of a hardness of lead. So if we're shooting, for example, these Lee modernized mini balls here for my 45 cal Kentucky long rifle, my muzzle loader, they need to be pure lead. It's the same if you're molding, shotgun slugs, buckshot, things like that. Pure lead is the way to go, and round balls for muzzle loaders too. However, when you get into metallic cartridge rounds, you have a lot more pressure going on and you don't want the lead to change shape. Part of the reason these mini balls have this conical base and soft lead, they've got a concave base. So the idea being is they're underbore, so they load really easily. You don't have to worry too much about fouling. But when the powder charge ignites and those gases start to expand, it expands that base of that bullet out and grips the rifling. Hence why a mini ball is very fast to load, but also can be extremely accurate as well. That's great to have soft lead in that application. However, if you have that same soft lead in, say, a 45-70, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to have leading all through the barrel. You'll get gas cutting through the bullet where the gas simply actually cuts through the lead and escapes rather than remaining behind the projectile and building pressure and therefore velocity. So there is an entire scale of Brinnell hardness which is used for lead and softer materials, but we're going to specifically talk lead and lead alloys today. Lee offer this really cool kit, and this is the instruction sheet it comes with. Lee do supply it in one of their standard 3-die boxes as well, so if you've got a stack of those already, they'll fit together nicely. So you get 3 parts, which I'll go through in a minute: a microscope, a die mandrel, and a V-block shell holder to hold your bullet. What I do want to show you, however, is their chart. Now, this chart is actually not complete in terms of all the values and as much as you might need to go down. So I will have a chart available, which I have done myself. I will have a link to that in the description down below. That will be free to download for anybody who wants it. And that covers Brinnell hardness right down from pure lead all the way up to a hardness of 33, which is getting pretty extreme, and most of us will never need an alloy that hard. So pure lead, like in these mini balls here, has a Brinnell hardness of around about 5. Now, I tested the ingots before I cast with those, and I was actually getting about 4.8 in a Brinnell hardness, so near enough anyway. Now, on here you have in this column a maximum pressure chart. Now, I am shooting cartridge-contained black powder in 357 Magnum, and I have one of my projectiles here that I've just cast. This one's actually slightly deformed on the base. I'm not worried about that because we want to be testing the sides of the bullet and the tip of the bullet, parts that are actually physically in contact with the mold. That's the same if you ever do this with an ingot. You want to measure the hardness on a surface that is in contact with the ingot mold, and that should always be the case. There's no point in checking the hardness on the base of a bullet where the sprue plate on your mold has been, because it won't give you an accurate reading. So for cartridge-contained black powder in a 357 Magnum, I'm looking for a Brinnell hardness of around about 9. Anywhere between sort of 8 and 10's probably okay for, like a pistol caliber. And I got a few friends who shoot long range black powder with 45-70 and they aim for about 9 as well. So I think that's probably a safe place to get started. Now, in terms of how do I make pure lead harder, this is where you need to make yourself an alloy or buy yourself an alloy. For example, Lyman number 2 is as a pre-made alloy you can buy the ingots of and just cast straight out. Some people find that Lyman number 2 is a little hard for what they're doing. So it really depends, and you are going to have to experiment. So how do we test and how are we going to make this lead harder? Let's start with how we make it harder. You make an alloy. So there's 2 things you can add to your lead to make an alloy and to make it harder. It's either tin or antimony or a combination of both. I've chosen tin. I'm not trying to increase the hardness of my lead by a lot. So I don't need antimony. Antimony hardens quicker, or it requires less material to harden, if you like. And there is a rule of thumb that Lee has included in their little instruction. 1% of tin adds approximately 0.29 Brinnell hardness, and antimony is approximately 0.92. That will depend on how pure your tin and your antimony is as well. Guys will mix solder bars and all sorts of stuff and then do all fancy calculations. If you can buy like 99% pure tin or 99% pure antimony, that's a good way to do it. I've heard mixed results on adding antimony in terms of the temperature that you need to actually get it to mix correctly and evenly. So I'm just doing tin for argument's sake here, and I don't need to increase it by a lot, like I said. The first thing you'll want to do to test your Brinnell hardness is you are going to need yourself a file. Now, what I have learned is a very, very coarse file. When you put it under the little microscope, it can make it hard to read the diameter of the impression. So I'm going to start with this mini ball, and I'm going to file this, and we're going to end up with a flat spot. I already have a flat spot on the nose of this bullet anyway, but I'm just going to file that flat as well. And we're going to test both the side of the bullet and the nose of the bullet in this case. So now I have filed a flat spot on the side of the bullet, and like I said, the nose is flat as well. We are going to start using parts of the kit. So Lee give you a real cool shell holder V-block, which will allow you to sit the bullet in without it running away on you. Quite handy. So we're going to go ahead and clip that into the press. And we're going to sit our bullet down with the flat side facing upward. Because this is a mini ball and it has a concave base, I'm going to try and go closer to the nose to avoid any false readings from that essentially hollow area in the bullet. Now, I have already set up my hardness testing mandrel in a Lee quick change bushing. They do not come with that, they come with the lock rings, so you can screw them into any press. You got the Hornady quick change or whatever, they all screw in. It's a standard reloading die. Now, you'll notice here in the top, and hopefully my camera is picking that up, there is a hole. When you apply pressure with the handle of the press, there is a pin that will come up. You must have that pin flat with the top of the die. If you overextend it, you are applying additional force to the little ball detent on the end here, and you'll give yourself a false reading. Now, you want to do it for at least 30 seconds. Now, what I like to do is just gently run the press up and make sure I'm getting in contact with the part of the bullet that I want, and I use the weight of the handle just to hold it in situ, right? I'm now going to set a timer, so we're going to go, hey Google, set a timer for 30 seconds. And so now I've brought the little indicator up flush with the top of the die, and I'm just going to hold the press in this position as steady as humanly possible. Just keep holding it here until our timer runs out. And just like that, our timer has run out. So now we'll just pop that out, and you can see now we have this nice round impression in the bullet. So we are going to do this again. I am going to, now like I said, this bullet here for my 357 Magnum is actually slightly deformed on the base. but I'm going to file a flat spot on this, and we're going to test this one as well. Right, and we are going to do the same thing with this bullet here. Now, there is another little trick. It is said to be a lot easier to cast high quality bullets with a little bit of tin in your lead. So even if you are trying to cast something that is a pure lead projectile, some people will still add to choose to add about 1% tin, and that makes for nicer casting. I've personally never had a problem casting pure lead. I cast more pure lead than I cast in alloys, so I'm not particularly worried about that. But if you are having trouble getting nice, uniform, clean looking bullets coming out of your mold, it may be worth trying to add a little bit of tin to it. Same thing again, we're going to wait for at least 30 seconds on this one. I've noticed if you wait longer, it doesn't seem to make any difference whatsoever. It's all on the spring loading tension. Okay, and that's us, so we will retract the ram. Now, I'm going to show you something somewhat significant already, as long as the camera's going to play ball. So there's our indentation in our alloy bullet, and here is our indentation in our pure lead bullet. And you can see there is a substantial difference in the size of those two impressions. And this is where I'm going to have a little bit of trouble showing you this on camera. In the kit, Lee provides you this little pen microscope, and it does have a scale on it. So I don't know if I can get the camera to show it. We're going to have a go anyway. I don't know how clear that's coming out on camera, but essentially what you are seeing is what they are showing you here in the picture. Inside the little microscope, you have a scale imprinted on a lens. Each one of those nocks is obviously 2 thou, or one of the hash marks is 2 thou, and you go from 0 to 10 thou. And based on how big the diameter of the detent is, will tell you the hardness of the bullet. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start with what should be a pure lead bullet. I'm getting right on 10 thousandths. So if we go to my extended chart here, and we look at, 100 thousandths. So if we look there, we're getting 4.8 on the Brinnell hardness scale. So that tells me that I have a pure lead mini ball. That's perfect, that is what I'm looking for. Now we're going to do the exact same thing with the alloy cast bullet for the 350. Bearing in mind these are going to be black powder loads. If you are going to load nitro, you may want more hardness. So it looks like I've overshot my mark slightly, and we have a Brinnell hardness of now. I wouldn't call that too hard for what I'm doing. That actually gives me way more pressure to work with. See, we can get up to about 15,500 PSI with that particular load. So that's not a bad thing. It's sort of clear to me now that maybe my calculation for the tin included was not quite accurate. There can be a number of other factors that do influence that as well. I am going to off camera file another one of those bullets and just confirm, make sure, because this one was slightly undercast, it didn't throw my reading off a little bit. The lead that I used to cast that 357 projectile started off being the exact same lead as this mini ball. I just added tin to it. So that is the beauty of casting your own bullet. You can set how you can get to play with the hardness and find out what works in your firearm and for your application. Firearm will be slightly different. These lead that they get will be slightly different. If you're getting wheel weights and things like that, they're already going to have antimony and tin and stuff in them. There could be all sorts of things in them, to be fair. So checking the Brinnell hardness of your raw material and then adjusting accordingly is a really, really good option. I'll show you one more thing. There is absolutely no reason you can't do an entire ingot as well. You just do the exact same thing, and I do this before I mix my alloy and I start casting. I will file a flat spot on there, same again, put it in the hardness tester, do the exact same thing. And I mean, I know at this point, but I know this is pure lead. And then I can add the appropriate amount of tin to get the appropriate hardness of bullet. So as always, if you have any questions, please hit me up in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Subscribing helps me immensely, so does just liking it, putting it out there to more people that'll be interested in this content. Allows me to keep doing what I'm doing. Until next time, happy shooting.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss out on anything. And if you found this video helpful, please share it with your friends. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comments below. Catch you next time.